The United States has taken an unprecedented and controversial step in its crackdown on illegal immigration. Military cargo planes, U.S. Air Force C-17s, no less, are now being used to deport migrants. That's right, military aircraft, designed for war zones and battlefield operations, are now carrying shackled human beings back to the very countries they risked their lives to flee. Let that sink in. This isn't just policy, this is a declaration, a message of zero tolerance, and for many, zero humanity. This is not business as usual. This is a massive escalation in immigration enforcement, an unapologetic flex of power under the current administration. Think about what this says. These individuals, fleeing violence, persecution, and poverty, are now being packed like cargo onto military planes, planes designed to carry troops and tanks, not people seeking refuge. If you think this is just another chapter in immigration enforcement, think again. This is a turning point, a signal that the United States is willing to blur the lines between military operations and civilian issues. It raises critical questions. How far is too far? When does enforcement cross the line into cruelty? And at what cost, moral, financial, and human, are these measures being taken? The visuals are shocking. Shackled migrants, escorted under armed guard, boarding massive military planes. These aren't just images, they're statements. They scream that the U.S. will stop at nothing to deter illegal immigration. But at what price? The administration claims it's about logistics, about solving the so-called problem of overflowing detention centers. They say commercial flights couldn't handle the volume. So now, the U.S. military is stepping in. Critics are calling it what it is, an inhumane and brutal approach to a humanitarian crisis. Imagine fleeing unimaginable horrors, gang violence, starvation, political persecution, only to be shackled, humiliated, and flown back to the very place you risked everything to escape. This isn't just enforcement, it's punishment. It's a deliberate display of power meant to intimidate and dehumanize. And the justification? National security. That's the catch-all excuse. They tell us it's necessary to protect the borders, to maintain law and order. But let's not mince words, this is about optics. It's about sending a message to the world: don't come here. You won't be welcomed, you'll be treated like a criminal. This decision hasn't just divided public opinion, it's sparked outrage across the globe. Human rights organizations have condemned it as a blatant violation of dignity and international norms. Amnesty International, the ACLU, and countless others are calling it out for what it is: state-sanctioned cruelty. Even other countries are pushing back. Guatemala, Mexico, nations already bearing the brunt of this crisis, are expressing outrage. One deportation flight was even refused entry into Mexico, highlighting the chaotic and reckless nature of this policy. It's not just inhumane, it's diplomatically disastrous. Let's talk about cost. Military planes don't come cheap. Every flight is a colossal expense, draining resources that could be used for real solutions, like addressing the root causes of migration. Instead, taxpayer dollars are being burned to stage this spectacle of force, all while claiming to save money. The hypocrisy is staggering. And then there are the migrants themselves. Their stories are heartbreaking and infuriating. Families torn apart. Parents separated from their children. People fleeing death threats, only to be shackled like criminals and thrown back into danger. These are human beings, not numbers, not statistics. Human beings with hopes, fears, and dreams. And they are being treated as less than human. This is a dangerous precedent. If the U.S. is willing to use military planes for deportation, what's next? Where do we draw the line? This kind of militarization of immigration enforcement opens the door to even more extreme measures. It normalizes the use of overwhelming force against some of the world's most vulnerable people. And let's not pretend this is about solving the immigration crisis. This is about politics. This is about playing to a base that demands tough talk and tougher action, no matter the cost. It's about stoking fear and division, about painting migrants as threats rather than people in need. The question we should all be asking is, what does this say about us as a nation? What kind of country are we becoming when we treat desperate people as cargo to be discarded? Where is the compassion, the humanity, the sense of justice that the United States claims to stand for? This isn't just a story about deportations. It's a story about power, who has it, who wields it, and who suffers under it. It's about the lengths a government will go to enforce its will, even at the expense of its moral standing. So let's not mince words. This is a crisis, not just a migration crisis, but a crisis of values. A crisis of conscience. And if we don't confront it, if we don't demand better, we're complicit. Complicit in the suffering, complicit in the dehumanization, complicit in the erosion of the very principles that are supposed to define us. Thank you for listening, and for reflecting on an issue that strikes at the heart of who we are. This isn't just about borders or policies, it's about humanity. And it's about time we started acting like it.